YouTube Ozic going, the Goat House is back, and shit's getting crazy right now. Wanted to jump on here a little bit ago, but then Kirk Cousins got signed, and then Saquon got signed, so we got grades. We're going to break down the signings. We have the instant news on our Twitter. I have a spreadsheet for you guys keeping track of the signings and the grades. There's going to be multiple of these videos, so there's probably signings going down now. We'll get to those guys in another video, but a lot to go over. Almost at 100K. I'd imagine we reach it soon. Appreciate you guys' support very much. Again, very important to follow us on Twitter. First signing of the day was the Bears signing DeAndre Swift. Thought they'd be players for Saquon Barkley. We'll talk about him in this video. 3-year, $24 million for DeAndre Swift for the Bears. That's going to be an average of $8 million per year. Obviously, a pretty good running back. The Bears get a lot better here, at the position. I'm more of like a go big or go home at the running back position type guy. So go for Barkley, Henry. I think someone's going to steal Henry, but we'll see. Pollard. And you got the same deal as Pollard. I was a bit higher on Pollard because his durability. I do think he's overall better. Swift is good, though. He's good. Detroit obviously dumped him. He was really good with Philadelphia. Miles Sanders also did some similar things with Philadelphia. Swift is now 7th in guaranteed money with this deal. That's a lot for a guy with durability concerns. So I would have preferred the Bears to go draft rather than this, but then they are limited in draft picks. So they have a lot of needs. Have to fill some needs now because they can't do it all in the draft. So kind of force them to but they were the first ones to sign. Again, I wish he had less guaranteed money because of the durability issues, and I wish he was a little bit under Tony Pollard. I had Tony Pollard number 20 free agent. And DeAndre Swift, number 37. But Bears get better at running back. Pretty solid option here. Just hope he stays healthy. Again, a little confused. Not a huge deal about the guaranteed money, but $8 million per year. That's the only Bears move so far. They were supposed to be big players. I mean, there's a ton of guys left still to go, but it was weird how they just jumped on this right away. I thought, fill the other needs, draft a running back, even if it's third round, somewhere like that. And I'll be looking at my phone throughout this. Nobody yet. Wow. Usually happens right when I start recording. But so a C I gave the Bears, but they do get better. Then Tony Pollard got the same exact deal. I did like Tony Pollard a bit better, mainly because he's a lot more durable. But I do think he's a better back, one of the better pass catching backs. I think he has actually a lot more upside as a pass catching back. Some of the routes he ran, I thought 2 years ago actually, downfield routes and the plays he made were fantastic. Brian Callahan going to the Tennessee Titans. They're going to throw the ball a ton, and he's going to be a solid runner as well. Could you have given this deal to Derrick Henry? Yeah, maybe not, actually. Let's say, yeah, but 3 years? I don't know. So getting 3 years, it's perfect that it's not 4. 3 seems the perfect amount for Tony Pollard. Again, don't love spending big money on running backs. $8 million is, we talked about with Swift. It's a bit, but I actually thought Pollard would be, if I had to predict, I'd be grading him, not, grading the team that signed him, not that great of a grade because I figured he'd be getting around 11 or 12 million. He gets 8. So, that I actually like that range. I'm not in love with it. It's a running back, paying him a decent amount of money, but I think it's pretty solid. Him and Tyjae Spears should be a pretty decent duo. So I gave the Tennessee Titans a B. Then we got the Vikings. This was a surprise. The Tony Pollard one was a little bit of a surprise as well, if it's a fit. Jonathan Greenard goes to the Vikings, and they just signed Andrew Van Ginkel. We have a grade for him at the end of this. 4 years, $76 million, $19 million. Again, some of these are probably max value, some of them are not, but there's a lot of people out there that go, well, that's max value. It doesn't matter. All I care about is base. Well, typically guys get incentives, so max value does matter as well, just as much. So, but yeah, I was surprised about this. Thought there was better fits out there than the Brian Flores defense. Brian Flores is a good defensive coach. He's going to get the most out of. My phone's going off like crazy. The Packers are releasing Aaron Jones. He was so dominant at the end of the season, especially in the playoffs. They signed Josh Jacobs. I don't have the numbers on Josh Jacobs, so he's not in this video. So that's crazy. That's absolutely, wasn't expecting this today. But back to the Vikings and Greenard. they're not going to let Danielle Hunter go. He's going to be a little bit more expensive, so you get younger and a little cheaper, but Hunter's just more proven, more consistent, better. Greenard, really solid last year. Is a good young player that has upside. Brian Flores gets a lot out of these guys, so that's solid. I just think it's an overpay. I think it's very risky. He's on and off type player, so a little inconsistent. He was really solid last year. Was he $19 million solid? No, but he was solid, and he can grow off that, but they're really banking off him growing off his breakout year. Year before, very underwhelming. Year before, he was all right. D'Amico Ryans typically gets the most out of his players. He's a good fit in that D'Amico Ryans defense. So I think, I don't know if he'll play as well as he did last year, and he has to do that and some. And he's going to be a good player. He's going to help the Vikings. They pair him with Van Ginkel, so they got a plan. Obviously, they didn't want to spend too much on Hunter because they're trying to get a running back. They're trying to get a corner. They're trying to get a defensive tackle. Obviously, they missed on Wilkins, who we'll talk about. But... So, I mean, I'm sure he'll be a good player. My grades aren't, or sometimes people get confused. I'm not saying Greenard, his talent this year will be a C-. Not what I'm saying. Grading the team off of value. I know the cap went up. It's a risky overpay in my opinion. I kind of felt that whoever was going to sign Greenard, I was going to view it as an overpay, but I thought it was going to be a 17.5, 18 million. Again, this could be max value, but still that matters. So, again, they get a good player, young good player, but it's risky. They're banking on a lot. It's a little overvalued there, so I gave it a C-. Christian Wilkins to the Raiders. Tough one to grade because you have one of the very best free agents, and the Raiders got a dog here. They got another dog to add with Max Crosby, so big-time player. They got to deal with Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert twice a year. Each a year. They want to get after those guys, specifically Mahomes, and having Wilkins in there now with who they already had in Max Crosby, I mean, it's pretty big. I mean, that's what you have to value more based on who's in your division. So they get a big-time guy. They get a lot better. They've been thin. They've been weak at the interior defensive line spot. I mean, when Max Crosby's lined up there, which hasn't been a whole lot, he's been better than, the guys they have in there. So, huge need. Raiders today, they got a lot better. So with the, I'm not saying he's a B- player. I'm grading the team. It's a tough one to grade because $27.5 million is a whopping number. That is top tier. That is elite pass rusher money, edge rusher money. It is the third highest paid defensive tackle behind Aaron Donald and Chris Jones and Aaron Donald. He crushed Matabuke, which I would value Wilkins more than Matabuke, but I thought he got a little much as well. But crushed Dexter Lawrence, who I think Dexter Lawrence is a better player. Jeffrey Simmons, I think Simmons is slightly better. So he crushed it. Other teams were apparently offering up to $23 million, $21 to $23 million. So the Raiders, I don't know if they had to go this high. It was like, all right, let's get in there. Let's get it done. Let's not worry about it. So it's one of those like sometimes you have to overpay. Sometimes it's okay to overpay. They overpaid, but it's not like a huge negative overpay. You got a great player. You got a lot better. I think if this is a team that is playing in which division, I don't know. Different NFC South. I mean, the NFC South got better at quarterback today, but then it's probably a worse grade. But you're going against Mahomes and Herbert. Your best thing on your team has to be, well, everyone has to be quarterback, but defensive line most definitely has to be next. Get Max Crosby some help. That's going to be a star-studded elite duo there. So there are things to get excited about. Checking my phone again. Nothing crazy at this second. Just crazy signing so far. Gabe Davis of the Jags. I see people on Twitter in my mentions saying this was an overpay. I actually don't mind this one. I like this one with the Jags and Gabe Davis. 3-year, $39 million, $13 million per year. Yes, the max value is $50 million, so that's a bit more. But Gabe Davis needed an incentive-based deal because this is a really good football player when he's on, when he's targeted, when he's healthy. He's actually still got a lot more potential. And the Bills are weird with their game plans and who they're targeting a bit. So he actually has a lot more upside, even if it's not with Josh Allen. With Trevor Lawrence, I think is good enough here. So they save a draft pick not signing Ridley, who I do like Ridley, so he's not as good as him. But save a draft pick and you save money. $13 million a year. I mean, there's some 1,000-yard receivers that end up getting. Vikings are signing Blake Cashman. That he was from Minnesota, actually, so that's the newest news there. I guess the bad part is if he's injured or kind of disappearing like he does sometimes. But then you're at $13 million. There's the receivers that get paid around that range are like good, but I don't, it's definitely not in the A range because there is some risk to it, of course, but I don't mind it. I think it's a good fit. I think you get a solid receiver. It needs to be incentive based, and that's what happened here with the Jaguars and Gabe Davis. So I give it a B plus. I don't mind that one at all. Between the Mitch Morse pre-free agency signing and this one, I don't mind what the Jaguars are doing. On to the next one, we got Jonah Jackson. There's a plus behind me. But Jonah Jackson of the Rams. Rams already spent $16 million per year on their own Kevin Dotson at guard. Now they go Jonah Jackson at $17 million. I was thinking, I kind of was hinting at it before free agency, whoever got Jonah Jackson maybe be an overpay, but I thought it would be around that $14 million range. They gave him $17 million per year. They had Steve Avila, who I like, and they drafted high. I think they'll move him to center because he has experience at every. That's the good thing there, but you valued him too high if he's a center then, so, but besides the point, I suppose. But that's a lot of money. I mean, Jonah Jackson's solid. He's got experience with a good Lions offensive line, but the Lions, great scheme, very good at coaching the offensive line, making guys better. Best center in football, best tackle in football, another great tackle. And Jonah Jackson went down. Somebody else came in, and they played just as well. It's like they didn't miss a step. So it just felt like a line. And then McVay and that offensive line, they get the most out of people. So Jonah Jackson's going to play well. I don't think he's going to be as good as he was on Detroit, but he's going to play well. I just think this is crazy overvalue at $17 million. I think the way they coach, they could have got a guy for like $12 million or $8 million, and it would have been pretty similar. Like not that much of a difference outcome. So that is where my head is at with the value of this at a D plus. Surprise, $17 million per year and $16 million per year. Now, the good thing is the offensive line should be better, but I thought it took a big step up this past year compared to the year before, which was the disaster. They already ran the ball pretty effectively at Kyren Williams, so I guess even more so. Interior pressure, going to be less of that on Stafford. But they finally have money, and this is where they're spending. They need safeties, they need corners, they need linebackers, they need another pass rusher. They need a quarterback of the future. I don't know if McVay is going to want to roll with a rookie or a young guy when Stafford's time is up. So they're spending a lot of money in one spot. I give it a D plus. I think it's an overpay. Again, he could be good. Again, I'm not grading the player and how he'll play. I'm grading the team on the value. Bryce Huff went to the Eagles. We expected that. I'm going to give this one a B minus, a 3-year, $51.1 million, $17.1 million per year. It's a lot of money. He had a lot of sacks. He wasn't used on every down. I think it's a reason for that, but he does have upside. He'll get production, against the quarterback. How will he be against the run? He doesn't have like the traits people look for, but he's been proven that wrong. He's been producing. Well, last year he produced. So it's a talented pass rusher here that's going to fit Vic Fangio's scheme. It's a tricky one to grade because I thought what he was deserving of was around 15 million, 16 million, but I figured he would get 16.5 to 17.5. So we're right there with that where I thought where he would get, which is a little more than I would value, but not a big deal. But then you factor in that I thought he'd be around Greenard, and he got paid $2 million less than Greenard, so that looks pretty decent. Hard to fully base it off that, grades off that. What I don't like, I wish the Eagles would just stick with Sweat and Reddick and then focus on, because right now their focus was on pass rusher and running back, where their focus could be on safety, linebacker, future of corner, but so do the Eagles technically get better with this? I guess you can't really say that. Kind of like the Vikings. Do they get better with Greenard over Hunter? No. Do they get better with Huff over, I guess we'll say, Sweat or Reddick? No, but a good future, a good fit. Phone is going off like crazy again. This is tough. Robert Hunt going to the Panthers. That's a massive one. Below Nichols to the Cardinals as well. Hunt to the Panthers, a massive one. He's going to get a lot of money. I'm assuming, no details yet, but I gave it a B minus. It's what the Eagles want in here. They get a decent young rising pass rusher. How will he be? Playing every down. I guess Greenard getting around $19 million kind of helped this one out a little bit. And it's 5 year, $100 million for Robert Hunt. Wow, that'll be in the next video. So that's the tricky part about doing these videos. Next, we got Dorance Armstrong, the Commanders. I thought he was a sleeper free agent that someone's going to get a steal for. He signed 3 year, $45 million, $15 million per year. That is max value, but max value does matter. There's people out there that want to throw that out the window and just focus on the base. that kind of sums up their thoughts on the contract. Max does matter. It's not everything. But, yeah, so I thought he was a sleeper. This is much more than sleeper money. I mean, he's been productive as a backup. I liked him a lot out of Kansas. We know he fits in Dan Quinn's defense. It's just the money made it like a splash signing where, for the Commanders where, there should be, there more of splash signings or should be their splash signings, but it should be a little bit bigger here. So, $15 million per year. Again, it's max value. It's, we're talking around the range of some legit pass rushers. So I thought, this is a high-end backup that could be a starter, on a rebuilding team, I suppose. But I thought he was a sleeper pass rusher because I thought somebody was going to steal him for like $8 to $10 million per year. Like Andrew Van Ginkel got $10 million per year. I mean, we're way off here, and I think those are similar impact players in terms of, could start, but a high-end rotation guy perhaps. So that was a surprising. I knew he was going to the Commanders, but that was surprising where that price was at here. Next, Saquon Barkley to the Eagles, 3-year, $37.75 million, and that is actually base value. So the max value $12.5 million per year. Max value goes, almost up to $16 million. So if he stays healthy, now it needs to be incentive based, but that is a lot of money for a running back. You would think the, incentives would push it to like $13 million. Base would be around 11.5. So that's why it's another tough one to grade because I think it's a little much for a running back. And this is base value where you would hope it would be max, or a little more would be max. So that almost kind of has it like in the C+ range for me. But then you factor in it's a great running back, a great offensive line. This Eagles offense gets the most out of their running backs. I mean, what Sanders ran for, what Swift ran for, and Barkley is way better than those guys. So he's going to dominate as long as he's healthy with that Eagles front. He's going to dominate. It's going to make things easier for the offense in general, the passing game, Jalen Hurts. So we bumped up to a B-. Is this what's going to get the Eagles a Super Bowl, though? Do they have to focus on other spots, paying a lot of money to running back? Yeah, I guess you take away from the Giants, but with the Giants a major threat to you. But, so you kind of argue both sides, but it is a lot of money, especially if you factor in the max value. The Eagles kind of take a hit with that when they should have some focus on other things. But they can do some crazy good things. Saquon Barkley is going to run crazy as long as he's healthy. So kind of bump it up to a B-. And the big one, Kirk Cousins to the Falcons. Been saying for some time they're a quarterback away. 4 years, $180 million. That is $45 million per year. Very good quarterback, very accurate quarterback, consistent quarterback from the Vikings, obviously, for a bit. Still more Robert Hunt news. That's a big one. So, it's a lot of money. A guy coming off Achilles injury, I thought he'd be around $40 million, but I thought that would be a really good deal. He goes 45, so you see why the Vikings kind of let things go there with him. So it is a lot of money, a little bit more than I would have hoped. If he wasn't off the Achilles injury, that would have been maybe a tiny bit, maybe right where I was at, with him. But at the end of the day, the Falcons are going to be a really good team. And we know it's a fit in that Zach Robinson, McVay offense. They were a quarterback away offensively. The Vikings offensive line was starting to get better finally, but this Falcons offensive line is really solid. It's set, so he actually gets an upgrade there. He doesn't have Justin Jefferson, but Drake London is a rising star. That guy's going to be a stud, especially with an accurate quarterback like Kirk Cousins here. Kyle Pitts should benefit from it. It's the more I'm talking, the more I want to go B. I'm going to bump it up maybe a little bit here because it's much. It's a little much for a guy off the Achilles in 4 years. Lengthy 4 years, perfect world. As a Vikings fan, I wanted them to get Cousins back for 1 or 2 years. Anything more with the big price tag, I'm like, we're going to draft one anyways. So, and he, off the Achilles, how much longer going to be around? So I don't love the 4 years. So the amount off the Achilles injury, the 4 years kind of puts it in the C+ range, but Falcons might have been a quarterback away. But the more I'm talking, like you're going to elevate a rising star, and that might be a bold statement calling Drake London a rising star, but watch out. Drake London, you're getting the most out of Kyle Pitts now. Bijan Robinson, Cousins is good at finding the running back when it's the right time too. And he's a good pass catcher. He's going to elevate these guys that have been good with mediocre quarterbacks so much. So that almost, one argument's like C+ and one argument's like B+. So I guess we're splitting the difference. I'm just glad that, people thought they were going Fields. I didn't see that as a fit at all. I think Falcons fans, they wanted Fields, but I think it's because they thought they were getting him. Sometimes it happens with fans. You talk yourselves into things, but like during the season, if you'd said Fields or Cousins, I think a lot of them said Cousins, obviously. But so they valued him a lot here. Falcons get a lot better. Right now, they're the team to beat in the NFC South. I mean, if that team had a decent quarterback last year, they were winning that division. So you get a good quarterback. Just hopefully he's healthy. He's been one of the most durable quarterbacks for some time. So let's just hope he stays healthy. I give it a B-, but again, there's arguments weird because there's arguments in the C range and there's arguments in the high B, maybe A- range. So you're kind of splitting the difference, B-, B range for Kirk Cousins. You got, let me know your guys' thoughts. This spreadsheet available for everybody. The rest of the signings here, I got to plug in the grades I just gave in this video. But we're going to go Drew Sample, 3-year, $10.5 million. I think he's underrated back with the Bengals. I gave that an A. Brandon Jones for the Broncos, 3-year, $20 million. So they go from Justin Simmons and P.J. Locke to Brandon Jones and P.J. Locke. Interesting. Good blitzing safety. He was really good under Flores. Needs that unique system. It's weird. They clear all this money and, their focus really isn't anywhere but that. They let Cushenberry go, which we're still waiting on the details on that, as you can see. Don't have the details at the second I'm recording right now for everything, so that's why I'm not grading everything yet. So I gave Brandon Jones a C+. Biotis to the Commanders, that's more than I thought he would get. They needed to get better at that position at center, but $10 million for a center is a lot. Cowboys' offensive line's been good, but that's kind of been one spot where that was a little on the weaker side. Not that he's overall weak, but I gave that one a C-. Didn't love that. Commander's been interesting so far. Colby Parkinson, I think sneaky. He's a sleeper tight end. I just did not expect him to get $7.5 million, which is kind of up there. It's not top tier tight end money, but it might be that next tier. I don't. That's a weird one. Because I like kind of some of the pieces they got. That's a random one. More I'm talking. I do like Parkinson. I think when the Seahawks used him, he was sneaky, but I almost want to bump that down a little bit. He might be the third best tight end on that team. I know Higbee's going to start the year with that injury, so interesting one there. Still waiting on the full Savage details. Maybe they came out while I was talking. Still waiting on the Josh Jacobs details. Same thing. They released Aaron Jones during the recording of this video. That's wild. But we'll talk about more of that when the time's right. But the Packers get the most out of the running backs. Jacobs going to be a monster there, but. Murphy Bunting still waiting on the details. Antonio Gibson has a 3-year deal. We know that. John Runyan and the Giants, they were desperate for a guard. They didn't go with that. I thought they were going to get Jonah Jackson, and I think they were, but then the Rams paid $17 million for him, so that was just too much. So I guess good on them not doing that. But Runyan, the Packers, mainly a scheme thing. They get the most out of their offensive linemen, sometimes random offensive linemen playing very well for them. I don't think he'll play as well, and not that he was great already. I don't think he'll play as well with the Giants that he did with the Packers. $10 million's a bit. Good thing they passed on the massive overpays. I rather this than the Jonah Jackson for $17 million, but Jonah Jackson is a better player. I give it a C+. And then Van Ginkel, who was a monster at the end of last year, back with Brian Flores, so a good fit. $10 million per year with Dorance Armstrong's getting $15 million. I thought Van Ginkel would get much more than that. Only a 2-year deal is pretty good too, because he's kind of a breakout player, so you didn't want to lock yourself up for a year. But 2-year, only $10 million. I thought that was actually one of the better, smaller ones so far. And it's not that small too. I mean, he's a big time player at the end of last year. So Van Ginkel and Greenard for the Vikings. That's going to be interesting as their pass rushers. But more of these videos to come. A lot more grades to get to. Signings happen rapidly. I'm back on Twitter here in a second, getting to work. Exciting time of the year. Almost at 100K. I'd imagine we get there soon. I appreciate you guys very much. It's awesome. Very important to follow us on Twitter. Sponsors, GLD Shop, Liquid IV, code GOAT. Check it out. Links pinned in the comments for anything you look for. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.